We've got Eric Nehm here, so we would be remiss if we didn't ask him about the Bucks head coaching search. Sounds like there were a lot of people in town, Eric. What can you tell us about where we are at in that process?
Yeah, I mean, John Horst is a very thorough person. So you go through a whole list of interviewees, and I think it's interesting with all of this stuff. With the advent of Zoom becoming far more popular. I mean, I can pop out an interview whenever I want. Like we don't need to be in the same place. So I do think as you look through that long list, I think it's about 15 people long. I think you're going to have varying levels of seriousness and thoroughness throughout all of that and how long those conversations are going to be. And then eventually you get down to where we are right now, where there's 3 finalists in Nick Nurse and Adrian Griffin and Kenny Atkinson. So you have those 3 that have kind of come through this whole process and are now in a situation where this week they're going to get to have the longer, deeper conversation with John Horst, with ownership, with all the people that matter kind of around the Bucks.
I know there's a tampering element to this, but were they hopeful to get Ty Lue?
Yeah, I mean, something I had reported very early in the process is that they were considering other coaches that currently had jobs. And when you're looking at, some of the best, obviously Ty Lue's a big part of that. And I think kind of to his credit, and we see this a lot of times, obviously Chewy in college football, right? Nick Saban says, "Oh yeah, no, I'll take that job. I just want a raise. Just give me a raise." Sure. And I think
they're using it for leverage.
100%. So you're seeing, I think, a lot from Ty Lue here, where he knew that there's going to be a lot of jobs opening, and he could say, "Hey, I'm not totally happy with the Clippers, but I could be happy if you tear up my contract and give me 5 more years." And then all of a sudden you get to that spot where I think that will be where Ty Lue ends up. He's going to be with the Clippers, but he will have a brand new 5-year contract that pays him at the very top level of all the coaches. So this is something that obviously when you get rid of someone like Mike Budenholzer, who obviously has his warts, but overall, that's someone that had a top 10 defense every year, a top 10 offense every year. The Bucks had the best record over the last 5 seasons when he was the coach. Like, you look at all those things, the standard has to be really high, which is why I think at the start of this process, it was like, all right, no one is off limits. We need to find the absolute best coach and figure out how to get that guy to Milwaukee.
Adrian Griffin is the one that's a finalist that I know the least about because he hasn't been a head coach.
Sure.
But I've talked myself into, I would be the most excited for him as a fan, because if he gets the job, to me, he did something that impressed John Horst, that impressed management, and impressed Giannis enough that they decided that this was our guy. What do you think of that take?
So I'm a big believer that anytime you have a head coach opening in the NBA, what you should do is hire a first-time head coach. You know what a retread looks like. You know what, if I coach for 5 years in Brooklyn, whatever it is, I've seen
Nick
your resume.
Nurse, Doc Rivers.
100%. You go down the line. I know what your systems look like. I know how you're going to do things. I know what you're good at. I know what you're bad at. I know all those things. And I know that there's a limit up there. Unless we're talking about Eric Spoelstra, for some reason, coming to Milwaukee, I know there's a limit to what you can do. This other person, I mean, I don't necessarily always want to reference Family Guy while talking about a coaching search. Mystery box. It could be anything. There could be anything in that first-time head coach, and I tend to believe that you're going to get greater innovation there. You're going to get new ideas. You're going to get stuff that the league hasn't seen before, when with all those other guys, you already have that. People have already seen that. So I'm a big believer in that. In this situation, I don't think the Bucks probably can do that. I think they do have to go safer. I do think they need to find someone that is going to bring in the big resume and let everyone know, like, I know what I'm doing. I have a ring. I've been here many times. Whatever it is, like, I think for the franchise, in a situation where you have a guy in Giannis Antetokounmpo that is the very best in the league, and someone that, at a moment's notice, again, I'm sorry, people in Milwaukee, I'll whisper, he could leave. At any point, that's possible. I'm not saying he wants to. I'm not saying he's going to. I'm just saying there has to be a standard, and you have to show him we are committed to winning, and that a lot of the time leads to someone that has that experience.
All right, so So let's say it ends up being Nick Nurse. If you hire Nick Nurse, why fire Mike Budenholzer?
Thank you.
It's the same
Right.
picture.
And again, everybody talks about Kawhi. You point to Kawhi and him kind of riding his, elitism to the title.
For sure. And I think sometimes what happens in the NBA is you just need a new voice. I think what you saw from Bud, you know that he's good at a whole bunch of things, but you can't forget that there was a timeout with half a second left in the game. You just can't do it. That series to me.
So that's a non-negotiable.
I just think there was no way in my mind that he could walk into that room next year. He could walk into that locker room and have the full confidence and faith of that entire roster, because we all saw the exact same thing. And yes, Giannis was out for half that series. And yes, when he did play, whatever, all of that did happen. But after 5 years, there was multiple playoff runs where the Bucks came up short. Bud didn't have the answers. And then in those final couple games, you have 2 double-digit leads in back-to-back games, in Game 4 and Game 5, where they just looked like they were in over their head. And yeah, are you changing out the voice for maybe the sake of changing out the voice? Maybe that's it. But I do also think that Nick Nurse has different strengths than what Bud has. Kenny Atkinson has different strengths than what Bud has. So Bud is very good. Undeniably, he's going to be a coach again in the NBA whenever he wants to be. And that team's probably going to be very good because that's just what Bud does. But I do think they needed a new voice.
Okay, I'm going to piggyback off of that for a moment because we're going to talk about hindsight here with our friend Eric Nehm from The Athletic, Bucks beat reporter. Now the Heat are 1 win away from the NBA Finals. Do you judge that series differently now that you know how good the Heat are? Right? Because at the beginning, when it all happened, it was like, this is the 8th seed that had to play its way in, that was really terrible during the regular season, and you were going, this upstart team can't make a deep run, and now they may be representing the conference in the finals. Do you change your perspective of that series with the Bucks?
I don't personally. I still saw the same things. Whether or not that was the 8th seed, they still dropped a 14-point lead in Game 4. Whether or not that's the 8th seed or the Eastern Conference Finals champ, they dropped a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter of Game 5. No matter what, those things stay the same. And yeah, maybe it is, a situation where we shouldn't have been, as willing to say, well, this garbage 8th seed. And it was bad. They almost lost to the Bulls. That was a thing that almost occurred. They're 3 minutes away from their season being over, and instead they're about to be in the NBA Finals. So there is a little bit of a perception, but from a Bucks perspective, the things that the Bucks did wrong don't change. Those things are the exact same as they were when it was an 8 seed, as opposed to whoever is going to represent the East in the NBA Finals.
Bucks roster is still better. Still better than
Well,
the Heat.
Chewy goes back to coaching, though. Chewy keeps going back to Spoelstra is just better than Mike Budenholzer.
I still don't know if the Heat are good. I think they're hot.
Spoelstra's
They're
good.
on a really good run right now. I know Spo's good. I know Jimmy's good. That's about all I know.
So, Eric, once they hire the head coach, what happens to the roster?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are a number of big questions this summer. To be clear, the Bucks don't really have a ton of options. There's always going to be the people that see what Chris Middleton does and say, well, he's not worth X, whatever that contract is. He's not worth it. Okay, that's fine. Don't pay him. You know how much money you have to pay anyone if you don't pay him? Zero. Zilch. Whatever other words you guys want to put on the poll to figure it out. You have zero. No more dollars. None. You have nothing in your pocket to
That
go
wasn't
spend.
a shot, was it?
No, I was just trying to.
I felt a little shoddy.
he
I
was
felt a
trying to
little
fit in.
shoddy.
I was trying to
He
help.
really liked
I was
the
trying to
poll.
but that's the situation that you're in, and it's the same thing with Brooke Lopez. Okay, yeah, you think Brooke could age poorly, could be too slow, could lock you into a style of defense that you don't want to play with a new coach. All those things. Okay, cool. Let him go. You don't get to sign another center. You don't have any money. The Bucks are constructed in such a way with the luxury tax and the salary cap rules in the NBA. They can't go out and sign anyone else. So there are a lot of Bucks fans that are like, oh, maybe they should improve or change or whatever it may be. And that's fine. But you do have to keep in mind that this team is limited in the ways that it can construct a roster. And there is a lot to be said for just bringing those guys back. And sure, there are Bucks fans that would say, let's sign and trade Chris for somebody else. Okay. I think that's something that you can consider. But one other thing that we've seen now, and talking to Jen's idea of kind of hindsight, the number 2 team in the East is the Boston Celtics. Are the Boston Celtics going to stay the same next year? I don't know. Jaylen Brown has not been so excited to sign the Supermax extension that can be offered to him this offseason. Maybe Jaylen Brown just says, I want to get out. I'm going to demand a trade. All of a sudden, the Celtics, who are the number 2 team in the East, don't look that good. The number 3 team in the East, Philadelphia 76ers, juggernaut all year. Joel Embiid, MVP. James Harden probably going to Houston. All of a sudden, the 3rd team in the East isn't very good. I think as this postseason has unfolded, I think you're seeing a real situation where I know the idea of just bringing it back, rolling it back, just with the new coaches, the change is scary to a lot of people because, we didn't improve. We didn't get better. We didn't do these things. Well, if everyone else got a whole bunch worse and you guys made your change, you decided that we need a new coach, we need a new voice, all of a sudden, it ain't looking so bad at the top. You were already at the top, and you made your one change. Maybe your one drastic change is the coach, and you keep all the same roster, and all of a sudden, you look like a brand new team that's rolling through the Eastern Conference.
He's Eric Nehm of The Athletic, joining Jen, Gabe, and Chewy here, giving us an update on the Bucks head coaching search. I want you to stick around, because I got a dilemma that we came across this past weekend, and you're a big restaurant guy. Like, I go to you for the local restaurant scene. I want to know your take on what happened to us this weekend when we went out on the town in Milwaukee. Eric Nehm, thank you so much for the Bucks insight.
It doesn't
Jump around.
Eric Nehm of The Athletic hanging out with us a little bit longer here on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. And I'm so glad because Eric Nehm is in on the restaurant scene here in Milwaukee and beyond. Even when he goes to other cities for his basketball duties, he's in on the restaurant scenes there. So we went out to dinner on Saturday night, and my brother-in-law ordered a steak, medium rare. Came back medium well, like no pink, all brown, done, tried it. Leather, okay?
Yeah, that's no good.
So he calls the server over. We had the whole thing, like, should I send it back? Should I not? Like, calls the server over and says, hey, we asked for medium rare on the steak. You brought us medium well. The lady's like, I'm so sorry. Let me get my manager. The manager comes over. She says, so sorry about that, sir. Would you like us to make a new steak? It's going to take 45 minutes for a new steak. My brother's like, 45 minutes for a medium rare steak? That doesn't make any sense, but we'll pivot. I'll have a pizza instead. Great. Lady's like, we'll take care of the pizza for you. We'll take care of your first round of drinks, and we will take care of any desserts your party chooses to get. My brother was all like, okay, fantastic. Thank you. She puts the pizza order in. My sister, who's sitting next to us, goes, she didn't say the steak. My brother-in-law goes, no, it's implied. It's implied that the steak, because they made it wrong. We asked for medium rare and they made it medium well. It's implied that the steak is coming off. She's just saying we're going to go above and beyond to make up for our error.
Well, I don't like where this is going.
Well, when we got the bill and the steak, $110 steak, one of these bougie spots, still on the
That's
bill.
the only place Jen goes, obviously.
Still on the bill. My brother-in-law was furious. He said it's implied that they're taking off the thing they erred on. That's implied. Everything else is just supposed to be gravy. That's all the cherry on top of the sundae.
Yep.
Was he right or was my sister right?
Man, that's really... So I would have thought... Actually, just wait. How much of the steak was eaten?
He had a couple pieces. My sister had a couple pieces. I had a piece, but it was a big steak. It was a 36-ounce steak.
Okay. I think
They were sharing. They were sharing the steak. It was their meal. Like, so we're not talking.
Ordered an entire cow?
Did they charge for the pizza and stuff?
They did not charge for the pizza. They did not charge for the first round of drinks, and they took off the desserts. Now only 2 people got desserts, so it ended up coming to $90.
Oh yeah, that's no good. No. If it was $110 steak, I would just take off the $110 steak. Like, don't even offer me the other things.
That's what my brother said. That's what my brother-in-law said. He goes, just make it fair.
Right.
That you messed up on the steak. Take off the steak. We'll pay for the other stuff. We'll pay for the pizza. Well, we already thought we were paying for our drinks. My sister goes, but that's not what she said. She said, we'll take care of the pizza, we'll take care of your drinks, and we'll take care of your desserts.
Yeah, that's...
Why are you chuckling?
Because I can't get over the 45 minutes to cook a medium rare steak. What the hell is this?
Maybe that's where it
Fire
went
that
wrong.
chef immediately.
Was it a pretty busy restaurant?
Very busy.
So,
What are they
his
slow?
There's
order,
an order? No, there's
well,
no
his
order
order
to fire.
goes to the back of the line.
Should
I'm
go to the
assuming.
front of the line.
Wow,
You messed
it
up
should
the
go
first
Why?
to
There's
order.
other
line,
people that
right?
are going to pay. and
Messed
not
up
get
the
your own.
first order. You got to put it at the front.
I'm just saying.
What
Are
did he
you
say?
trying to tell me you're not crabbing about a medium well versus
No,
medium rare steak?
I would eat it and be like, well,
No,
you know, maybe
I
next
tried.
time.
Well, that's because you
No,
don't have
you're too
gonads.
soft. You're too soft.
I'm aware that I'm soft though, so that's
No.
why it's not a big
way
deal
too
to me.
soft.
Way.
No, way too soft.
I know I'm soft,
I mean,
guys. Don't even
maybe
keep saying it.
medium.
No.
Yeah, you can get away with medium.
So
you
that
can
was
get
the
medium
thing.
well.
We
Yeah, there would
passed
need to
it
be some
around.
pink on it.
Yeah.
We passed it
some.
around the table to be like, well, what do you think? Well, what do you think? And I was like,
You get some water.
little chewy. It's a little chewy. This is like beef jerky. No, I'm good. I need So again, his point was it's implied
Yeah,
that they
no,
should
that's-
take off the thing they messed up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Especially a place like that. $110 for a steak.
But I mean, seems like a decent amount of the steak was still consumed, even if you were just passing it around to try.
That
it.
is where
I think
would-
that's where it gets tricky of how much of that steak was consumed.
If you take one piece of that and you look inside and say, oh, that's not right, you raise your hand right away and say, excuse me, I'm sorry, this isn't right. I'm willing to wait, though, for a new steak. Or we're going to get a pizza instead after you hear the offer. Once you've all tried it and be like, I'm not sure, let me keep trying this steak, you're out then.
Well, but it was four of us. It wasn't that we all were keep trying, but my brother, and he was looking through it. He was like, let me find the pinkest piece
Sure.
I can. Tried that one to see, well, maybe this is a good medium rare piece. It was not. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like we were gorging on it, being like, this is disgusting, but we keep eating it. Like, we were tasting it. We were kind of having that debate of like, should we send it back? Should we just try to enjoy
No,
it?
I mean, there's just no way you should have been charged for it. There's just no way.
Yeah, I agree.
There's no way.
So you cut it up, so then it was really spread
cut
around.
it up.
So it was the
They
kid,
cut it up. It
It was
comes-
the kid trick of spreading the food around the plate. Now it looks like you've eaten more. You
Right.
screwed yourself.
Yes, if we would have just pushed it all together, look, and we put it in the shape of a steak. We barely touched
So,
it.
well, if I can get some closure on this, then the only fair outcome here that was assumed was everything that was his meal from that point on should have been taken off.
No, all we wanted was the steak taken off
But
the bill.
what if he had still had to pay for the pizza and
Yes,
the
he
desserts
was
and the
fine
drinks thing?
with that. He was
No,
fine
you
with
would- I
that.
don't believe that.
But it's the trickle down. It's the trickle down because Jen's never going to go there again.
Easy, Ronald Reagan.
And you're going to tell your
no.
friends to never. That's what I do. I'm
And
like,
my
don't go to
loyal
this place.
listeners,
Yeah.
I haven't mentioned the name of it because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be the person dogging the restaurant. But the point is, when you go to a place and they mess up, is it your baseline? Is it your default setting that whatever was messed up is removed? And anything else they want to do is like gravy. It's the
so
cherry on
in
top.
my head, they shouldn't have offered all of the other
Correct.
things. They shouldn't have been like, oh, well, we'll make up the value elsewhere. Literally just take out the steak and give me
Yeah,
a
and
pizza and,
then-
we're good.
yeah.
We're good. If I pay
Yeah, I agree.
25, 30, whatever it is for the pizza, fine. I'm okay with that. But all they tried to do was just like, why don't we swap in $110
Yeah.
worth of
Yes,
food
yes,
for you? And no, that's not
Chef Ed weighing in on our ESPN Milwaukee talk and text line saying, if the kitchen messed up the steak, your steak should be top priority. The new steak that they're making. I'm assuming that Chef Ed has worked his way through a number of kitchens and
But it seems like it wouldn't have been if it was going to take 45 minutes. He was clearly going, they
Yeah.
were just going
Well,
to throw it to the back of the line.
so. But again, I think
Again,
it's all
they
of.
mishandled all of it.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Disagree.
The
Right.
whole thing.
Yeah.
I disagree.
The
no.
whole thing.
I understand Chef Ed's been in kitchens, but here's my take on it now as a business person is, okay, I have other tables here waiting for their food. They're already going to pay. I'm going to hopefully not screw up their food and probably not screw up their food. I'll get all the money made back right away there.
This person's already having a bad time. I don't care about their bad
Exactly.
time.
He
Got to
gets
make
it.
sure that everybody else has a
Well,
good
here,
time.
are you worried about the $110 or the $1,000 you're
No,
going to
you're
make on
worried about
everybody
them
else?
coming back to the restaurant to eat and not telling their friends that will not go there.
Or maybe their friends are like me and like, well, calm
Or
down.
if you put them to the front of the line, now you're making everybody else have a bad time, and everybody
now
else
you're
isn't
losing
going
out
to
on
come
more
back.
money.
John in Chicago weighing in saying, this is ridiculous. A $110 steak should be reimbursed in addition to the freebies to make it up to you. It makes up for the inconvenience of having to replace a steak dinner for a pedestrian pizza.
I just think they compounded their mistake. They made a mistake.
Yeah.
You own it, and you throw another steak on, and that's it. We're good. And you don't say it takes 45 minutes. You just get it done.
But I also know you, Eric, as Milwaukee's foodie, like
Sure.
the most famous foodie we have. You're not a steak guy at a restaurant.
No, I tend not to be a steak guy at a restaurant.
That's because he's smart.
Because
He
you
gets
can
it.
cook a better one at home, right?
Nah, because steak's overrated. That's why.
Oh.
I mean, I think so. I think steak is a little bit overrated. I think the problem with a steak is it tastes like a steak no matter where you steak it.
Exactly.
Like no matter what, as Chewy said, I can buy a really good cut of meat and I can grill it myself, and I'm not going to spend as much or do as much. And when I am on the road, I'm not ordering steak because I would like some local flair. I would like some local flavor. Like if I'm in Miami, I'm going to go to a Cuban joint. Because I can't make Cuban that way. Like, how could I? I'm not that talented. But can I make a steak? Yeah.
Steak's pretty simple.
I can make a steak. So, yeah, I would say steak, the general idea is good, but it's just eating too much.
Jay Love in
There's
the
too much of it.
414 weighing in saying the 45 minutes was to discourage you ordering another expensive 36-ounce steak.
That's right.
Which I don't love that
is
strategy. I'm not going to lie.
That is
Like,
right.
I don't want to be manipulated. You know what I mean? I don't want
I
to
mean,
be.
they already had to waste. They screwed up one steak, you know.
Give me 45 minutes to make your medium rare steak. What? In what world?
From what I know of steak, that's not bad. That's again, I'm no expert.
Well, at 200 degrees it is, maybe.
Maybe that's the problem. They cooked the first one for 45 minutes. They got to adjust the cook time.
Yeah, can we get it down to 30 minutes?
That's exactly what my brother-in-law said. He goes, well, now I know what went wrong. You set the timer for 45. Eric, we appreciate you hanging out with us here on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy. Good stuff about the Milwaukee Bucks head coaching search and restaurants. Those are your two areas of specialty / expertise.